Hello folks, I just want to share something that I have been thinking about this past week or so, and it's based on one of the readings in Catching the Wave booklet, focusing on loss, and it's based on John chapter 11, which is the passage where we hear about Lazarus and his death and then subsequent resurrection. To lose something very dear to us causes great pain. We may lose our job, our health, relationships, hopes, dreams, and even loved ones. You would nearly think that the writers of the Catching the Wave booklet knew what was coming. But we know that God did, because God is bigger than all of this and he knows everything. He knows the bigger picture. John 11:4, whenever Jesus heard the news that Lazarus was sick, he said, "This sickness will not end in death, it's for God's glory, so that God's Son will be glorified through it." And in 1 Peter 4:12, Peter says, "Dear friends, do not be surprised at the painful trial you are suffering." So we're just reminded that God is so much bigger than what's going on with us. When we think about loss, one of the new concerns is the whole loss of freedom, the loss of our independence, the loss of our daily routine. And we were reminded a couple of weeks ago, most of you will have seen the little report that went round of Father Graham's Mass when he listed about 20 different reminders of how well off we are. Just staying at home shouldn't be a trial, because there are no bombs, we're not prisoners in self-isolation, we're not refugees fleeing from our homes, we're not starving, we have water, we have running water, we have hot running water and soap. We can reach friends and family by phone and internet all across the world. It's so easy to get in touch, even if we can't see them face to face. We are surrounded by books, by love, and by God's creation. So one of the other things that I felt that I have been learning is to count my blessings. But some of these losses are real concerns. As mentioned, jobs. Some people have perhaps worries about losing their livelihood and maybe their self-esteem. There's certainly people who have lost their health. People are stressing and worrying about the health of other people in their family. Relationships are strained through social distancing and lack of contact. Hopes, dreams and aspirations. Many of our young people are lacking in their education now. They're not getting to do their exams and there's a kind of a limbo for them. So that's definitely a loss. But also within the past week, a number of our members have suffered the loss of a loved friend or family member, or at least we know of someone in the wider community who has passed away. And it may be due to cancer or heart failure, or indeed to COVID-19. So we have to think about how Jesus responded to this loss. And we're looking at John chapter 11, and in verses 32 to 36 we read about how Mary reached Jesus, and when she saw him she fell at his feet. But Jesus saw she was weeping, and he was deeply moved in spirit, and he was troubled. Then when they took him to show him where Lazarus was laid out, very simply, the Bible tells us, Jesus wept. Jesus has empathy and compassion. He mourns with us, he feels the pain, and he comforts us. So very importantly, he has empathy and compassion for others suffering from loss. Then we have the encounter where he met Martha, which is actually earlier on, because when Martha heard Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him. She said, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died, but I know that even now God will give you whatever you ask." And Jesus told her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He who believes in me will live, even though he dies. And whoever lives and believes in me will never die." This is present tense. I am. We're even reminded of Moses encountering God at the burning bush. I am. It's present. It's continuous. Jesus was declaring this before his death, and he's challenging us to live in the knowledge and experience of his resurrection power, not simply to hang in there until death. So the promise of Easter is eternal life, but abundant life and experience in the here and now, living as resurrection people. God draws close to all who are hurting and suffering loss, whatever that loss may be, and he comes especially close to those who are grieving. Jesus' heart went out to people suffering physically, mentally and emotionally. He demonstrated loving care and healed those who came to him. Let's ask him for that love and care. In the face of seemingly hopeless loss and despair, ask him for his resurrection power and hope.